power balance ang sinasabi nga ng ating batang-batang historiador na si Xiao Chua. Interesante po ngayon ng kapanayam o panayam na ginagawa ni Mike Cohen with former DILG Secretary Rafael Alunan. Tunghayan po natin ito.
The continuing coverage of PTV4's state visit of U.S. President Barack Obama. We're joined now by former Cabinet Secretary Rafael Alunan. Secretary Alunan, of course, to many people in government, it was around your time when the U.S. forces somehow came back to deal with the problem of terrorism. Now there is a new agreement. How do you view this when you look at what some people are saying, that this is a step backwards in some ways when it comes to how Philippine defense infrastructure is being done? Do you agree with that, or is this a necessary step?
Well, let me just go back to history. During our time in the administration of President Ramos, we faced a terrible problem in terms of internal security, and this was being posed by the returning terrorists from Afghanistan and the Filipinos who fought in Afghanistan to kick out the Russian invaders, eventually returned to the Philippines in the form of extreme Islamism, which gave birth to the Al-Qaeda and the Abu Sayyaf. Abu Sayyaf was orbiting around Al-Qaeda, which was, of course, the brainchild of Osama bin Laden. And our rebels here were feeding the madrasas of Osama bin Laden and their cohorts and swelled the ranks of our local terrorists, which eventually teamed up with Jemaah Islamiyah. It was at that we were facing a security winter with the United States because in 1991 the Philippine Senate decided to end the presence of the U.S. bases on constitutional grounds. There was a lot of spin at that time about anti-Americanism, and this was largely the ploy of the extreme left. But to me, a spokesman of the Philippine government at the time during the basis talks, I sensed that they represented a minority. Our view in the Philippine panel was that it was important for us to uphold the Constitution, which was approved in 1987. The basis talks took place in 1990-1991.
So going into it very quickly.
So when the U.S. bases left, it created a security void. It was during that time, during the Ramos administration, that on top of the terrorist problem that we encountered, China took over Mischief Reef in 1995.
Yeah, I kind of know something about that because I was a reporter who first reported on them being there. But going into that specifically, did you see the timeline within Mischief Reef and the pullout of the bases? Was there almost like a vacuum that allowed
when we discussed the takeover by China of Mischief Reef, it was pretty clear to us that they took advantage of the security void. It was shortly thereafter that we had a sort of a mini build-up of weapons, even if they were second-hand or cheap first-hand weapons from Europe. We invested in the S-211. We invested in aircraft, C-130s. We even acquired Peacocks from the British in 1998 and some ground equipment. But beyond that, the President Ramos also caused the passage of the Basis Conversion Development Act, which meant that any sale of baselands would go to the modernization of the armed forces of the Philippines. And that was supposed to have been carried out by subsequent administrations.
So the plans were set at that time.
Yes.
Of course, we recently saw incidents at Ayubin Reef,
yes,
or Second Thomas
yes,
Shoal, as it's called internationally, wherein Filipinos bringing resupplies were blocked by by a Chinese ship. But while that was happening, there was this US P-8 Orion that suddenly appeared. It seemed the Chinese kind of stayed away right after that plane made its appearance. Is that the impact of a U.S. presence in the region?
Well, before I get to that, I was just about to say that since from the time of President Estrada up to the present administration, we failed to really invest in national security. And because of that, that emboldened the China to engage in or to accelerate its provocative acts in the South China Sea following their 9-line pronouncement through their cabbage strategy and salami slice strategies, which led to the takeover of Scarborough or Bajo de Masinloc in April 2012. And now they're threatening Ayungin. You know? And during this time, I think the United States came to realize that it was them that was really being challenged by China.
Going a quick wrap-up, of course, we have a lot of events today, and I'm sure you're going to be taking part in some of them.
Yeah.
What is the impact of President Obama's visit here, and how do you see this impacting on the security situation of the country overall?
Okay, well, I think the impact of President Obama's visit to the Philippines is very positive. I expect him to stand by the Philippines and declare it as a key ally in the region. We are already a non-NATO ally, which we got that status during the time of President Bush. President Obama's visit to Asia underscores the Obama's policy of America's pivot to Asia, where it would like to ensure and assure its allies that it will remain an Asia-Pacific power, and that it will ensure peace, stability, and the free movement of goods in the South China Sea.
In about 15 seconds, to critics of this, what do you have to say?
I think they're singing an old tune. I think they're out of tune. They're not in tune with the times, and they have to think of the national interest. They have not come up with an alternative.
All right, and we thank you very much, Secretary Alunan, for being here with us today. Obviously, you have a lot of activities that you're going to be taking part, and our viewers are also going to be seeing a lot of things happening today here on PTV's continuing coverage of the American President's state visit.